We'll call the meeting to order. Town of Wakefield Board of Appeals for Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. Our agenda this evening consists all of continued hearings, so there is no legal notice to read. I will remind everyone that we'll proceed as usual with applicants sharing materials, sharing their screens, and we'll have questions and comments, and any votes will be taken via roll call. Any guests or members of the public, please remain on mute unless we're called upon or we get to the public participation part of the meeting, in which case we'll ask you to just state your name and address for the record. Let's get started. So our first hearing is a continued hearing 21-4, 21-5, and 21-6, Granite's Family Trust, LLC at 581 to 583 Salem Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening,
Brian.
Members of the board. Good evening. Again, for the record, Attorney Brian McGrail, representing Granite's Family Trust, LLC. With me tonight is Jim Cook, who is on the screen, and Bill Mandel, who is here, but his screen is blacked out. They are the two principals of Granite's Family Trust, LLC, and John Ogren is here, who is our site civil. I think where we are on this, the board at the last meeting had asked me to submit some draft conditions, which I did. There were also a couple of cleanup items that dealt with architectural plans that we submitted with revised dates on those. And what we did is really the only change on the architectural plans was the exterior doorway, if you remember, for the electrical room on the back of the building, which we had added. And we showed that to you at the last meeting, but we wanted to formalize those plans to have an updated revision set to reflect it accurately. So, the other part of it is what we did is we updated the materials architectural booklet. And there were really some minor changes to that. When I went through my notes, there were a couple of things that the board had mentioned on that. There was an inconsistency on a window model that needed to be corrected. And then board member Wall had asked that there was some bronze lighting fixtures, and she had requested that we look into see if those could be black, and they could. So we've changed the material booklet to reflect the color change as she had requested. Basically, that's where we are. I'm happy to bring any of that information up on the screen. I can bring the draft conditions up. I could bring either of those plans that I just referenced. The other thing is, and I did it, and I have, and maybe I should bring up, I had my client just put together an estimated construction schedule, because I know sometimes the board wants to see that. That wasn't discussed, but I went through my notes and I said, gee, maybe they want to see that at this meeting. So if anyone's interested in that, I'm happy to bring that up on the screen also, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I would ask that we just bring up the materials that have changed for the record so they can be shown on the screen, and just note the changes real quick.
Okay.
And if board members have any questions, they can chime in.
Okay.
And we will need a final printed set, obviously.
Yes. Yep.
If this turns out to be the final set or whatever, so they can be properly stamped and included in the file for the building department.
Yep. Can you see my screen? Is that?
Yes.
Can you see the schedule?
Not yet.
It looks like something's opening.
Okay.
We see all your secret emails.
Oh. Let me start this way. Hold on, this would probably be better. Where is this? Here we go. That should bring it up.
Yep.
That do it?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna zoom in. Hang on. There you go. So I'm gonna, I know the board's pretty sophisticated with this, so I think I'm just gonna let you look at it. And that's probably more appropriate instead of me telling you, because you're more than qualified to review this on your own.
Brian, is that a year behind? April 2020 is starting?
Let me ask Bill or Jim, you guys put this together. You want to comment on that?
It says
Yeah,
20.
that was a typo. Please excuse that.
Okay,
Oh, the start and finish columns are correct, but
Yeah,
on the
the-
top, it says 2020. Yeah. I
Right.
see that.
bar graph, yeah.
Correct.
We're really 21 and 22.
There you go.
Correct. Correct. Sorry about that.
No worries, but the columns are right. That say start and
Correct.
finish. Yeah.
Yep.
So a month of demo, total duration, about 14 months, 15 months, yeah. Any questions from board members on this as you look at it?
Okay,
Do we want to see an updated one, or are we good just with the dates as is?
I mean, I would update it,
I
no,
don't have the right one, but I don't think we need to see it.
no.
No, okay,
yeah, we can update that for the record.
okay, thanks.
Let me get rid of that. Okay. Okay, these are the revised. Can you see that?
Yes,
Great. So this just has a revision date of 10/7. Really, nothing has changed on this, except the back elevation, which now officially for the record reflects the two doors in the back.
Brian, can you go back to the plan at that, in the first floor?
Yes, sir. Right here, Jim? Yep. It's highlighted where the change was made.
Yeah, okay, all right, thanks.
okay, any questions?
None.
Brian, the only question I have is you're not going to have access from inside the building into that room. You're going to have to go outside if anybody ever wants to go into that meter and electrical room.
I'll go back to that, Chip. I didn't look at that. Hang on. Let me see.
It's not unusual though, Chip.
Let's see.
No, I know, but I'm just thinking a building manager, on-site guy needs to check something. It's the middle of winter. But fire
outside.
protection only has outside as well, so.
Yeah, plus you put another door into those other spaces and you relegate, that door becomes something else. I don't know. I mean, it could maybe.
It's
get-
fine with me. I just wanted to check and see that I was looking at it right.
Yeah. Jim, have any input on that?
No,
Bill?
no, I'm
I'm
fine.
talking about the Jim Cook.
I believe that was the town's request from the light department that we had exterior access to that unit, to that utility room.
Only though they did not want access from within inside?
They weren't clear on that, but I also believe if you make access from the inside, you limit the usability of the room.
Got it.
Wall space, yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
All right. Colors and materials booklet.
Yep.
Hold on. Okay, this has a revision date. And this series window had to be changed. I had Amy highlight that. It was a different, and we wanted to be consistent throughout the building, the V2500. And then the only other change on this. Where are we?
the light,
Yeah, did I go by it?
no, not yet. I think that was the other.
There it is. We changed the color trim on the lights to black.
Good.
Yep,
That's
Right,
much
Amy, that-
better.
that's what you wanted, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that was the only change on that. And then, hold on.
Brian, do you have the final site plan there?
Let me see, I can bring that up. I didn't have that queued up. Nothing's changed on that, but I can
But
go.
what's all I need is the date.
Oh, John, can you help with that? John Ogren?
He's muted.
He can't, I can. I can do it right now. Hold on.
Well, we're just asking
Yeah,
for
no,
John.
give me a second. I'll get you the date.
I'm gonna beat you.
And the hard copy I have is still maybe the original from July.
Yeah, I'm just want to make sure that we have the accurate latest revision.
I think it's 9/18. I'll let John confirm it.
Yeah, 9/18.
And that has the sidewalk and the fire hydrant and all the changes.
Correct.
Do you want me to bring it up, Mr. Tabell?
Nope. I just wanted to make sure we had the latest and greatest.
Okay.
So we'll need if that's the latest, potentially final, we'll need a hard copy of that one, Brian.
Yeah, I need hard copies of
A
everything.
regular big set, the usual.
We didn't, on the materials, we don't have anything on the fencing, and I think the last time we talked, it was a stockade fence or something like that between us and the electrical yard.
Yeah, John, do you want to talk on that? Because you put it on the plan.
Yeah, I mean, we just showed a 6-foot stockade fence along between our property and the electric department property.
Is it spec'd on the plan, John?
Not other than a 6-foot stockade fence.
Bill, do you want to talk about, Jim, do you want to talk about what type of fence you're anticipating putting up there? Is it going to be a vinyl fence?
We were originally planning on a stockade, but I believe that's what we originally said and the board agreed, but we're open to suggestions and, can accommodate either way.
I don't think you have fencing anywhere else on site, right?
Correct. And there's already an existing fence there. So this fence would be more for screening and privacy.
Yeah, there's a chain link fence there now, but it's not very tall.
What's the planting along there? Will it fill in?
I think we should look at the site plan and the landscape design on that to be.
I guess my question is, stockade fence don't stand up for a heck of a long time. On the other hand, if there's planting that's gonna fill out and thicken up along there, then even if the fence goes, it basically has a certain amount of separation visually and otherwise.
Understood.
Yep. Here we go. Hold on. I'm going to bring up the landscape plan. Do you want the site plan too, Jim McBain?
Just a landscape plan.
Just the landscape? Okay. Okay, hold on. It's coming up. There you go. Can you see that?
So there's no planting to speak of along that fence.
Nope.
Looks like there's some clusters of hydrangeas.
Yeah, right here. Here.
Yeah, but clustered, I mean, that's not gonna do what Jim's talking about with the fence.
I think we need something better than stockade then, that being the case, something that's gonna stand up in a longer period of time.
Would you agree to a white vinyl?
I would. I don't know how the
Yeah.
rest of the board would feel.
I'm fine with that. But
We-
40 gauge, not 22 gauge.
So a 40 gauge white vinyl,
I think that's the heavier.
I believe you're right, and a 6 foot, correct?
Yep, 6 is fine in my eyes.
Sounds good.
I'm good.
Okay, do you want,
Were you talking again? Which,
It's along that, along the electric fence with
right here.
with, from the street edge back, I guess, wherever that wire fence is between the two properties.
Yeah, we just can't, we gotta be careful getting up near the street to block,
Yeah, I understand. I
you know,
understand.
that's all.
The
Do you
chain
put-
link fence is on the electric company property. So
Right.
the new fence would be on our side of it.
Right.
You gonna put a fence against a fence? Is that the idea?
Maybe,
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
even wire it against it. Who knows?
Yeah. Or we can talk to them and see if they want to take theirs down.
Oh, no, you don't want that.
You don't like that, Jim?
No, leave theirs alone.
Leave it, put yours right up against it. It will help with stability as you smash snow into it.
Yeah, yeah. Or just wind.
We'll just talk reality here for a second.
so Brian, can you just look at the sheet number here? Was this in the site plan package?
No, this is a separate plan, Dave. Landscape plan.
Okay. What's it dated?
This is dated, hold on.
June 22nd.
Thank you, John, because my Zoom
Okay.
is blocking it.
Yep, okay, so I have that original in the file, so we're gonna get an updated one.
No, this
Yeah,
is
that's
it.
Dated
Oh.
9/18.
What do you want, Chip? So I don't mess that
One
up.
that's dated 9/18.
No, but the landscape plan, they're gonna update.
Landscape
to a
plan's
vinyl
dated.
fence.
Oh, landscape is in sight, yeah.
I mean, do you want the landscape plan revised to show that fence, or would you want that as a condition?
Where is it called out?
on the site plan.
Oh, it's called out on the site plan, yeah.
Then you gotta make sure
Well,
it's
yeah, we'll just have John, you can just do a little revision on your site plan, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's easier. It's easier for John to do it
On the landscape plan.
on the site plan. John, the fence is called out on the site plan. On John Ogren's plan, not the landscape plan.
Right.
But if we want the fence, doesn't it have to be put on this plan?
No,
No, sight's fine.
agreed.
So what, okay, well, normally we look for consistency here between these plans, but anyway, as long as it's on the site plan, okay. But what has to be updated? Because we just showed the 9/18 one and it's on there, or it's not?
no, I'll bring it up, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Yeah, just so everybody can understand.
Stockade is on.
Yeah, you gotta change the terminology.
oh, it says stockade, but not the vinyl. I get it.
Yeah, hold on. Do you want me to bring it up?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll take a minute from my, here it is. John, any idea what sheet I should go to?
Sheet 4.
This one? C4?
Yep. Over on the left, it says proposed
There it is right there. Proposed 6-foot-high stockade fence. So John will change the specification on that.
E4. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And these were the draft conditions that I had submitted. You know, for some of these,
Brian, I think I go through this with you every time. Can you go down back to number, it's either 3 or 4? There's a word you love to use.
Substantially.
Yeah,
I try to
Strike
sneak
it.
that in.
what?
I said, I always try to sneak that
You
in.
always try to sneak it
Yeah.
in, and one of these times you're not gonna, I'll forget about it,
Yeah.
but this time I didn't.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say revise, because you guys are gonna change this, so this way I can do the document right now. So, hang on a second, if I can. I'm gonna track the changes, okay. So we're gonna delete that. Okay,
Have we got anything in here, Brian, for mock-up panel?
Yep,
yes.
number 5.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
And I put the language in, mock-up panel should be completed by the time the foundation is backfilled.
Okay.
I think the only comment on that is it says stone, but is that where we mean brick? In item 5?
Should be.
I think that should be brick, not stone. That's what we're proposing.
The board agrees, I'll change that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's what's in that's what's in the information that we've been given.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's actually mortar.
In mortar,
Yeah,
grout?
grout is in tile, but mortar is in brick.
how's that, Andy? MORTAR?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 6, did anyone want to, you said you updated or provided an O&M plan, but have we actually looked at it? Did you
Yes.
wanna go-
We've looked at it and talked about it.
Okay. So we're good there, okay. Number 7 seems fine.
Number 7, that word "and" seems a little out of,
Yeah,
what's
you're
that
right.
really supposed to say?
Plans.
The plans.
Yeah.
Shall control, yeah, and, you're right. Good catch.
Want to update 8, you already provided the construction schedule, visit the one we've already approved.
I didn't know you were gonna do that, or they want to look at it, so I'll change that.
Oh, yeah, the landscaping one in case, yeah, we run into bad weather, right?
Yeah.
Happens.
We
Yep,
shouldn't with them finishing in June, but things
could
can
be
happen.
delays, right.
Global warming.
Okay, number 10, anyone good?
Yep. Number 11 does all the affordable stuff.
2 of the 2 bedrooms and 1 of the 1 bedrooms.
Yep.
That's what DHCD will require.
Yep. Okay. And the
Regulatory
12,
agreement,
yeah, that goes with
affordable
that.
housing sequencing, which is
Yep.
standard.
And we retain jurisdiction on signage, yep. I think we talked about that.
And 15 deals with the trees. Those
Yeah.
trees on the
Abutters property.
abutters property that the
Yeah.
board was concerned would be potentially affected. So we said we're going to meet with the designated board member prior to, similar
Right,
to
we
what,
want to know what's getting cut and what's not,
that's right.
because you represent that some of the big ones are being saved.
Yeah, so that's, let me just see here. That's these trees, right?
Yep.
That's it. A lot of the conditions that you've had before with the fire department and DPW, the board, if you remember, we met with the town engineer and, a lot of that stuff has now been taken off, cleans it up.
Well, and not only that, we put a lot more on plans now.
That's right.
Do we need to do any type of surety for the landscaping?
It's there,
It says it.
number 9.
Yeah, right here, Amy. Right there.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I missed that. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments, questions on the draft conditions, board members?
None here.
Okay, just checking the file just to see if there was no other materials received or correspondence since the last meeting. So if there's nothing else, board members, we'll open up to the public one last time, potentially. So go back to the participants list. Okay. So if any member of the public wishes to ask a question or make a comment, we'd ask you to please raise your hand in Zoom, and we'll call on you. Seeing no hands, we will close it to public testimony for perhaps the final time. Assuming there's nothing else, board members, we might be proceeding to a vote at this point. I just want to note for the record, based on attendance at these meetings, I missed the last hearing, but watched the last video, read the minutes, so I am caught up, signed that affidavit, as well as Tom Lucy missed the September 9th meeting. He too has signed an affidavit and he is caught up. So the 5 voting members on this application would be myself, Jim, Chip, Joe, and Tom. Okay. Gail?
Am I not on this one?
It looks like you missed August and maybe didn't get caught up, but
Oh, I did my affidavit.
did we miss it?
I don't know. Gail, did I not put it in the box?
Weren't you in Aruba?
Yeah, but I caught up.
Oh.
But that's fine. Doesn't matter. I just want to make sure my affidavit's in there.
No, I found it. It's here.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just, it was underneath a few other things. So
Okay.
I will note that on the attendance sheet. And Greg
Okay.
actually did get caught up as well, but
Okay.
if you're okay deferring to Tom on this one.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fine. I just want to make sure it's in there.
Yeah, it is. So,
Okay.
affidavit and Greg. Affidavit. Okay. They're all in the front here. Okay. Cool. All right. Anything else, board members?
No,
I'm ready to make motions if you're ready, Mr. Chairman.
I am, Mr. Tarbell.
So, Mr. McGrail, there are 3 special permits being requested?
Correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, if we may, where we just went through the draft revised conditions this evening, I'm just going to state during the motion that per our discussion and the conditions as spoken as we reviewed tonight, so not to go through them 3 times. There will also be findings that we have for each special permit. The findings I'll do once, but will be good for all 3 times as well. As well, the plans that we'll be referencing are the last revised plans, 9/18/20 from Hayes Engineering for site and civil, etc. And for the architectural will be 10/7 for the material booklet and for the plan architecturals from MZO Group. With
Yes.
that being said, I move that we grant a special permit and site plan approval pursuant to section 190-32 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, allowing a 19-unit mid-rise apartment building at 51-50 at 581-583 and 581R and 583R Salem Street, as shown on the final site plan and final architectural plan. The findings are as follows. The use requested listed in the table of use regulations as requiring a special permit in the district for which this application has been made. The requested use is essential and desirable to the public convenience and welfare. The requested use will not create an undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. And we believe that because we heard and listened to the traffic study. The requested use will not overload any public water drainage and sewer system or any other municipal system for which an extent that the requested use and or developed use in the immediate area or in any other area of the town will not be unduly subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or the general welfare. And we know this because we heard from the town engineer and took into all his considerations that are on the plans. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining districts, nor be detrimental to the public health, convenience, or welfare. And I think that actually by adding the sidewalk to this project and by developing the properties that it's developing, it certainly improves the character and integrity of the area. And that the requested use will not, by its addition to a neighborhood, cause an excess of that particular use that could be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood. And certainly we feel that housing is an important thing, and the affordable units are a good part of that. Also, we needed to look at and review the bylaw for where it states that, you know, in reviewing a site plan, the special permit granting authority and the other applicable agencies shall consider, among other things, the following. One, the convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the site and in relation to adjacent streets, properties, improvements. Again, we did that with traffic advisory. Adequacy of the methods of disposal for sewage, refuse, and other wastes, and the methods for surface and storm water drainage through Hayes Engineering and the town engineering department. Those were looked at. And provisions for off-street loading and unloading for vehicles incidental to the servicing of the buildings and related use of the lot and or tract. And again, through traffic and through the site plan, people can get off Salem Street into this complex and service the building. So we considered all of the above, and for those reasons that we believe that they've met all the conditions and we're satisfied, I again move that we approve this special permit.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion? Right, so I would just note that with the plans that you referenced, Chip, and those dates, we would be expecting a couple updates. So we'll note that they'll be noted in a decision as being the final ones. But just for the record, a couple of those plans will still get updated with the changes we talked about tonight. But other than that, any other discussion? Okay, voting members, Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so that is unanimous.
All right, I move that we grant a special permit pursuant to section 190-32(1) of the Wakefield zoning bylaw for reductions and or alterations to dimensional requirements under section 190-32D, table 2 of the bylaw, related to a 19-unit multi-rise apartment building at 51, I'm going to do this all night, at 581-583 and 581R and 583R Salem Street, as shown on the final site plan and final architectural plans, included but not limited to the following: A, lot width; B, front, side, and or rear setbacks; C, any other relief required from section 190-32D and table 2 of the bylaw to allow the project to be constructed as shown on the final site plan and architectural plans. And the findings again are as were for the first special permit, as well as the conditions.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, same voting members, Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so that too is unanimous. Next.
All right, the third and last special permit needed pursuant to the section 190-36C of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. Any accessory reductions in the requirements and/or standards for off-street parking and loading under Article 7 of the bylaw related to a 19-unit mid-rise apartment building at 581, 583, and 581R and 583R Salem Street, as shown on the final site plan and final architectural plans. For here, the application of the standards for off-street parking and loading under Article 7 proves to be infeasible, and the reductions are supported by evidence of infeasibility due to a lack of suitable land, design considerations, and other similar factors. We grant such a special permit will not adversely affect the health, safety, convenience, character, or welfare of the neighborhood and district of the town. And furthermore, we determine that the location of the structure will not restrict visibility in such a way as to hinder the safe entry or exit of a vehicle from any driveway to the street or restrict visibility at a corner of two streets. Same conditions.
I'll second.
You? Just looking at something in the bylaw. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, same voting members. Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that too is unanimous. Okay, thank you, team,
Mr. Chairman.
for
Thank
the
you, members of the
presentation.
board.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
I'd just like, Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Sure.
I'd just like to note that this team did a great job with this project from start to finish. It came in well-designed, well thought out, and it was a pleasure to work on. There was, from projects of this size, this may have had the least amount of changes as any project I can remember. So I thank their team for that.
You know,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for your kind words, Chip.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay,
Have a great night.
That just means when you come back, MZO Group better be just as good.
yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
bar's been
The bar,
elevated.
you've raised the bar now.
you're in trouble.
We'll do our best.
Thank you for your help. Have a good night.
Good luck.
Good
Good
night.
night, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good project.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I could just reference a couple of the hearings that are being continued. I don't know if
Yeah, that's fair, Brian. I usually note those up front. And
That's right. So,
pick up by me, so in case anyone is here for those.
Yep.
So we have received from Mr. McGrail 2 letters requesting continuance. So in case anyone is here for those hearings, we should take those up now. So regarding 610 Salem Street, case numbers 21-12, 13, and 14. Mr. McGrail has asked that we continue this matter from this evening's meeting to October 28th, our next hearing. They're working on matters raised by the board at the last meeting.
I move that we continue this till next meeting.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Chip,
Might be able to just say anybody not in agreement. I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
Amy,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tom? Yep, you're on mute, but nodding. Good. Greg, Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so that hearing will be on October 28th. The next one regarding 37 Central Street, case number 21-15. Similar request asking us to continue from this evening to October 28th, 2020. Again, working on matters that were raised by the board at the last meeting.
I move that we continue this to the 28th.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Once again, Chip,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Thank you, and I vote yes. So, okay. So again, if anyone else on our Zoom meeting was here for either of those applications, they'll be heard at our next hearing on October 28th. And thank you for the reminder, Brian. All right, so our next continued hearing on the agenda this evening is 21-16, 11. David and Holly, is it Stead or Steed? Stead? Okay. At 8 Walnut Street. You just got to unmute yourselves and we can proceed.
Oh, good evening to the board. Thank you for meeting with us again. Just a refresher, we're Dave and Holly at 8 Walnut Street. We're seeking a variance under 190-66, Article A of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. Looking for relief from our setback hardship due to lot size and topography. It's a fairly old house. We have 2 kids. We're just looking for any extra room if possible. We have our contractor Joe here too on the Zoom call. And at the last meeting, we showed the existing plot plan. Tonight, we have the proposed plot plan along with some more detailed drawings of the porch we're looking to build. The porch would basically be replacing our mulch line. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen.
So you said updated materials. We appreciate that. So we had a chance to review them.
Okay. So this is our plot plan that is our existing plot plan that you all saw last time. And here is the proposed.
You just put that up a bit so I can see who did it and the date that he did it. No, I need the stamp.
Oh.
Keep going. Perfect.
Okay, so the main change here was we're looking for at least some designation or outline of the proposed porch, right?
Yes. So let me.
Showing the dimensions.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'll just. Those are our Halloween decorations. So basically, yeah, the where the skull heads over there are the mulch line and the stairs, that's where the porch would be. And how it lines up with our neighbors. I know at the last meeting, a few of the board members were wondering how it would look compared to a lot of the homes on our street also have front porches.
And you're going to do the stairs off the side going towards the driveway, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So here are, let me just. If anyone needs me to go back a page or anything, just let me know.
It looks like the porch is proposed to run basically from one end of the house to the other. And the steps extend a little beyond that, but they're still off the driveway because there's a little strip of land there. Is that?
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay.
As far as the look of the porch, Joe was kind enough to provide a few photos of porches he's built. It would look along the lines of this with the white columns, black posts. With storage underneath. Storage we definitely need.
The old walkway that goes to the old stairs, that can be taken up and I assume grass?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And are you, let's see where it's coming out. So are you just looking again up and down the street? We see how other houses have had porches. And some have like landscaping in front of their porch. So now you're bringing it out, potentially bringing it out to that edge. Yeah, that's probably a good perspective right there. So are you planning to do any landscaping then in front of that, or just have the grass? What are you thinking in front?
Just grass.
Just the grass.
Just leaving it at the grass, okay. Okay, do board members have any other comments or questions? I think those are the keys, getting an updated plan with dimensions. We have that, and some additional details on materials.
Can we just go back to the site plan for 1 minute?
Oh, sure.
I need to get the dimensions that we're going for. Did Mr. Torenzo put on a block that says, did he do a zoning chart anywhere
I
on?
believe so.
What?
I don't think he did.
Okay. Not a big deal. So you need to be 5'8" at the closest.
Correct.
And 13 off the right side.
So, you know, the other thing that occurred.
Well, that's a continuation, isn't it?
Well, you read my mind. I thought of this after watching last week's meeting and kind of looking at this again, because this appears to be a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It doesn't,
It is.
you know, even in this neighborhood, right, doesn't have the frontage, the width, the side setbacks, at least on the left side. I think the right might be all right, 13. But, you know, it's non-conforming as it exists. And that in and of itself isn't a problem, Dave and Holly. But I'm wondering, in cases like this, whether we would also be looking to make a finding that what you're proposing, A, wouldn't increase the nonconformities, and or wouldn't, if it did, it wouldn't be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. That's another section of the bylaw, 190-50. You didn't apply for it, but I'm wondering if it's something we need to consider here.
I think you got to recognize this in its whole, not in its part.
Meaning what, Jim?
Meaning we ought to cover all issues, basically, is what I'm saying. Because this will come up, this could come up later on another matter, like Brian quite often does, basically bringing back stuff before us. So since it's before us, we might as well clean it up all the way.
Well, wouldn't that require a new application? So it's
Well,
not just cleaning it up.
There's the rub.
I think we've done this in the past to clean it up, where somebody has come in front of us and we've just added it to the application so that it's neater and cleaner in the future.
It's not like they're asking for something else. They came in asking us for one thing. We recognize the pre-existing condition. They're not changing anything anywhere else. It's the primary ask, basically, but there's a secondary cleanup that needs to be done on this thing.
No, understood. Just, something to consider is that it is a different part of what, public hearing, and it hasn't been noticed or anything. So I think it's more than just cleaning it up per se.
If it's not changing anything that they're presenting.
Correct, but it's something that wasn't applied.
Well, I mean, we could simply grant them the.
Yeah. Yeah. I already know where you're going, Chip.
I'm just looking at the original application.
And let them deal with it in the future.
I'm just looking at the bylaw. 1 sec.
Theoretically, the future is if and when they sell the house, then the bank's going to want some, some relief, basically.
But you know what? If they see a variance for it, they're probably never going to even look beyond that. Because the variance goes with the property, not with the owners.
And I think doing it as a pure cleanup could actually add more problems if someone sees it's not done properly. I think kind of go with what Chip just said, do this now, and if they want to clean it up in the future, even if it's just, hey, we have some time now, let's, do it then.
I'll leave it to the lawyers.
Instead of, might as well at least have the correct process so your process can't be attacked.
You've been watching the Supreme Court hearings way too much today.
Mr. Chairman, can I help the folks for a second?
Feel free.
Because I think you have the authority to do a finding with this without a public hearing. Because under our bylaw, this would be on the first prong. It says pre-existing single or two-family structures may be reconstructed, changed, extended, or altered without the necessity of a public hearing, provided it is determined that no such reconstruction, change, alteration shall increase the non-conforming nature of the structure, which obviously isn't happening here, as you just discussed. And it says, such determination shall be made by the Board of Appeals or the zoning administrator. And as I said, it says specifically without the necessity of a public hearing. So I think you can clearly tack that on to clean it up.
Stand corrected. Let's do it.
And I'm in.
Leave it to the real estate.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
That's my pro bono for the night.
That's it.
I was gonna say the bill's in the mail.
And so this is general residence. Is it general or single?
General, I think.
General.
Oh, it's single. Oh,
General, it's general, okay.
okay.
So just going to the table, just to double check numbers. So the sides should be 10. So the left side,
Right, so we know it's a non-conforming lot.
I'm just looking at it, it's width, it's frontage, it's width, it's left side and rear. Basically just, yeah, other than the right setback, which is 13, exceeds the 10.
Everything, right.
Everything else is basically, again, for the benefit of the applicants, right? It's the nature of a lot of older homes in Wakefield. They are pre-existing, our zoning bylaws, and they're non-conforming in nature. So it doesn't mean people can't change them or alter them, but it usually requires some sort of finding on our part that what you're doing isn't going to make things worse or substantially more detrimental. Thank you, Brian, for your input. Yeah, I do agree it's the right thing to do, and we can do it without additional public notice. So with that, we can proceed. Again, if there are any other comments or questions on the material and information presented, we're board members all set. Okay, then at this time, we'll open up the public testimony. If any member of the public wishes to ask a question or make a comment about the information heard this evening, please raise your hand, come off mute, and I will recognize you. Seeing none, we will close with the public testimony. So back to the board. So
We
again,
probably have to do the finding first and the variance second.
Yeah, I would think so.
sure.
Because we have to find that it's so I move that we find this as a continuation of a non-conformity based on the fact that it's only making the front setback greater, and that has no negative integrity on the neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay.
And I guess that, excuse me, before that gets, I would also amend it to say that the second prong, which that if it does make it greater, which it does, it also does not make it more detrimental or reduce the character and integrity of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Second.
Second on the amended motion. Okay. Any comments on that finding?
And that would be based on plans dated 10/5/20 from Torenzo.
Okay. Voting members on this one. Jim, I think you said you're passing on this one.
I'm passing.
And I did get caught up, but I'll defer to the folks who have been here for both hearings. So Chip, Amy, Joe, Tom, and Greg. So you're the voting members. So any discussion on the motion as amended? Okay, votes, Chip,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Greg.
Yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous. So now
And
the
I
variance.
move, I move that we grant the variance under 190-66A for a front yard setback to 5.8 feet from the road or thereabouts to build the porch as shown on the site plan dated 10/5/20 from Torenzo.
Second.
And I would just under discussion, I would note, we would want to note that the variance is granted owing to circumstances on the shape and
Oh,
topography
excuse me, yep.
Yeah.
The hardship is shape and topography.
of the lot. Okay,
Second.
all right. On the amended motion, thank you, Amy.
Mhm.
Any discussion? Okay, same voting members, Chip,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Greg.
Yes.
Okay, that too is unanimous. So you've received approval from the board. Next steps, in case, again, this is new for you, I will work with the team. We'll draft the decision or decisions and send you a draft for your review. Gail, I'm sorry, do we have final PDFs, right? We have the updated electronic docs. So,
Yes, we do.
Yeah, she forwarded it to all of us.
yeah,
Mhm.
so look for a draft decision. And then once we're happy and you guys are satisfied with the language, we'll file it, and then there's an appeal period, 20-day appeal period. And after that, then if nobody appeals, you can then apply for your building permit. Okay, and Gail will be happy to answer any questions you may have about that after we leave. Okay, so thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice night, everyone.
You too.
Thank you, you too.
All right. Next hearing, 21-16, Micah Canistaro. I got that, hopefully. 101 Cedar Street.
Great. Thank you,
Brian?
Mr. Chairman.
Yep, welcome back, Brian.
Thank you. Appreciate it. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail representing Micah Canistaro in his capacity as trustee. And Micah is here tonight on the screen. Also with us is Jim Emanuel here? Yep, Jimmy's here, our landscape architect. Lee Mazarian is our architect. So basically, to refresh the board's memory, this is the property at 101 Cedar Street in Wakefield, and we are seeking a special permit to convert a single-family dwelling into a 4. This also is where the little preschool is that we went over in detail. And after the last meeting, if you remember, also on tonight is Mr. Ferrick. I see him, Dave, who's our abutter. After the last meeting, we had some homework assignments that the board had requested. The board had asked us to look at potentially revising the site plan and to kind of shift the parking away, and also to have a landscape plan done. We retained Mr. Emanuel. And also, Mr. Ferrick had mentioned the concern about water that accumulates in front of the property and along his property on Albion Street, because this is at the intersection of Cedar and Albion. And I concurred with him 100% that there's an issue there, because I've seen it myself driving by. So I reached out to the town engineer, Mr. Renault, in that regard, and he was very receptive and helpful. And we actually set up a site meeting last week where we all met on the property, and we spent quite a bit of time there. And Mr. Renault came out and looked at the situation with the water, and Dave Ferrick was there. Thank you, Dave, for your participation. It was, I thought, a very good meeting. And interestingly, the town had no knowledge of the issue. They were, they said, gee, we haven't really, don't have any, recent complaints about it. I know it's been going on for a long time because I just always have noticed it. The school that operates there has sandbags that they put out to block the water, whenever that event happens. And interestingly, as Mr. Renaud had pointed out, there are catch basins there that are capable of accommodating everything. And so what he's going to do is he's going to do an investigation. He thinks it might be a blockage somewhere along the line. Also the good news is that Cedar Street is scheduled for repaving in the next fiscal year. So it's going to have to be addressed one way or another. He committed to us that he would look into it and make sure it gets resolved. So I think we were all, happy that he took the time, and we were very happy with his position on it. So that is that issue. So that seems to be a resolvable issue that the town is going to deal with, and it's going to benefit everybody. The other thing was the site plan. We've modified that a little bit, and we've really come up with, and Jim Emanuel is here, and working with Mr. Ferrick, who is really in my mind, really the main person that abuts this property. And we really got his input on some of his concerns, and certainly he can speak for himself tonight, as I'm sure he will. But after Jim presents the landscape plan, and I think Mr. Tarbell, you had asked us to kind of, think a little bit, not just with landscaping, to potentially move the parking over a little bit. So I think probably the best bet is that maybe I should share to start. So this is the revised site plan by Paul Finocchio. And what we did is revised 10.8. This is Mr. Ferrick's property right over here. Okay. And what we did is, before, the parking spaces were right up on that property line and they were angled in. I can bring up the original. Would it be helpful for you to see the original site plan now instead of this one? Or do you remember it?
I remember it. Yeah.
You do remember it? Basically, this line of was exactly abutting this, like right on Mr. Ferrick's property. So what Jim Emanuel's here, working with Paul Finocchio, they said, gee, let's get it off of Mr. Ferrick's property, and let's just do a little turnaround for folks. So, they pull in straight, but then when they need to back out, they got a place to back out and then pull out. So we thought that was a good design. We like the change. And then you're going to see how nicely that works with our landscape architect.
Is that the only change on that plan, Brian?
That was the only change, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the new date on that plan, Brian?
Let me see.
October 8th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did Mr. Renaud say he was going to issue a letter to the board, so we had that, just noting?
No, I'm sure he would, but he didn't. I mean, he was so receptive and responsive. It was like, and Dave Ferrick, I'm sure he'll talk to the board too. I think we were all really happy with his position on it and confident that it was going to be addressed.
And I guess, Dave, I would state that, as far as I'm concerned, the work on Cedar Street's great for these homeowners. However, it's not necessary. It wouldn't sway me one way or the other in regards to their petition.
We're not causing the problem, but if it was something that we could have done, Micah was like, hey, if I can put a catch basin in or something, that will make it good for everybody, maybe I'd be willing to do that. But Bill said that's not going to do anything. There's plenty of catch basins to deal with this. It's just something down the line that we need to clear.
Okay. No, it's come up on other applications where it's like a condition to work with the town to try to do some thing like curbing or curb cuts or sidewalks, right? We've done that. And I just didn't know if it was a conditionable thing or he was going to write a letter. So he said the town's committed to looking at this area. It's not just specific to this project. So just wondering if that was something he had offered, but that's
No,
fine.
but we could get that or pursue that if you wanted. So this is the landscaping
Oh,
plan.
I'm sorry, Brian, just before we leave the site plan.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Let me get back to it. Hold on.
Um,
Can you
if-
see it now, Tom? Is it up on the screen?
Yeah, forgive me if this was covered last time. We talked a little bit about that property line right
Yeah.
by the shed.
It's addressed in the new plan.
It's addressed to the new plan?
It's, yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay.
talk about this, Tom, right here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're
Right.
gonna see it here. Hold on. That's gonna be removed.
Can you rotate that, Brian?
Yeah.
Horizontal.
This one, Jim, or the next one?
Next one, landscape,
Oh, you want it going? Yeah, I can rotate it.
horizontal.
Is that how you want it?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So I'm
And
gonna.
blow it up a couple clicks if you could.
I can.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
you went a
enough.
little quick on that site plan. The updated site plan still shows your driveway going over the other property line. So how is it addressed?
Well, it's
Yeah,
addressed
that's
on, it's addressed here, but what we can do is, let's hear from Dave. If he wants that pavement removed, we can remove it. It's whatever the abutter wants, we're happy to do. So probably just take it out, and if that's what's agreed to do, I would just have Paul Finocchio put a note on this plan, that pavement to be removed.
So Tom, was that your inquiry?
Yeah, if that's the new site plan, I know we had talked about it, so.
Yeah. No, that's a point well taken, Tom. So, I think we can just make a note that it's going to be removed on that plan.
I
Okay.
think if it stays that way, then I think you get disputes in the future depending on who ownership is.
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, I mean, our shed is on.
You're occupying somebody's land.
Yeah, I agree. I think for everybody's perspective, it should be. The only thing is I don't know, and Mr. Ferrick can help us with this. If, Dave, is that pavement on your side of the fence?
No, it's not.
Okay, great. So we can get at it without ruining your fence. Okay, great. All right. So that can be addressed. That can be a little edit on that plan, Tom, if that, I think that makes sense. Points well taken.
Okay. Thank you. Now on to
Yeah.
landscaping.
Is that blown up enough for everybody?
Mhm.
Yeah,
A little bit bigger? Is that better? Or too big?
no, it's fine.
Fine.
So Jim, do you want to, you could?
Sure. Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay, so this is the landscape plan, and there are a number of nice, significant trees surrounding this property. To the south, there's a fairly large Crimson King maple, which provides a pretty good buffer along the southerly edge. There's interesting sourwood on Cedar Street, and there's even a northern catalpa in the back, which is kind of an interesting tree as well too. So it's sort of a little bit of an arboretum of sorts with plantings. But what we're looking to do is provide additional buffer along that south parking lot line on the abutting property there with some arborvitae that will not be within the canopy of that Crimson King maple. So we'll preserve the maple tree, but in the areas where we can get some height with these evergreens, we're going to place those evergreens where they're shown along that sort of diagonal line on the southern edge of the parking lot, southwest edge of the parking spaces. As we go underneath the canopy of the tree, we'll switch to a different variety, like some hollies that will tolerate the shade from the tree and the canopy better, and then just a few ornamental things underneath it, hollies on the other side. And then along Albion Street, we're going to switch over to inkberries and some other shrubs that are going to be a little bit lower in profile. So when you're backing out of the driveway, the sight lines won't be constricted as you're coming out of that drive onto Cedar Street. The view lines will be a little bit better. The other area would be to the other parking spaces where we have shifted from the last configuration. The parking lot now is shifted essentially one space over. So the pavements is green space now between the last parking space, which is parking space number 5, I think it was, and the lot line. And in that, we'll be able to get a number of shrubs and trees. There are hemlock and some hollies and things that will get to about, between 8 and 10 feet tall, up to the hemlock can get even taller than that, which will provide some buffering, but more importantly, the pavement isn't right up to the lot line over there, and I think provides a better layout within the site. And we can place a few things along the back fence line too, like climbing hydrangeas, just to kind of soften everything. We're also noting some granite bollards at the ends of the parking spaces too, so it provides some protection for the fencing along the back side and for the catalpa as well too. Where you see the shrubs all along the building, right now it's kind of an overgrown, I would call it an overgrown mess of evergreens really, and we agreed that those had kind of seen their day. So this is more of an ornamental planting configuration, a little bit smaller in scale, but we would propose to remove the overgrown evergreens and add a few things that are designated in the plant list. So some Japanese maple in the corner, some hydrangeas, hollies, some flowering shrubs, junipers, things that will sit well on that edge there and even take some abuse if snowplow happens to push some snow up against them. And that's pretty much it. We were also just showing some pavers along the walkways to give access to the stairways as well too. So that'll give it a little bit more of a residential feel. So that gives us, the landscaping is going to be kind of more residential in scale, but providing a good amount of buffering between the neighbor and property. And the property on the other side, we're just sort of adding a few shrubs. There's a garage on the north side, so we would add some shrubs along that side just to define that edge in that area there and put grass along the edge, but we would maintain the existing evergreens that are against the building on that side. I think that this will create, like I said, a little bit more residential feel to the property and also improve the sightlines. Both this from a screening standpoint and then also from entering and exiting the site as well too.
Jim, the other thing too is, if I could just add, there's an old beat up chain link fence that runs right here.
Yes, there's a fence and a gate that's there right now. I think it's part of the daycare. And that would be removed as part of this plan as well too.
Yeah. And irrigation, Jim?
There's a note on the plan, all landscaped areas to be irrigated, right prominently under the plan list.
So
well trained, well trained.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to note a first here on the zoning board after 17 years or whatever it's been. Never once has the physical trees on our property been called an arboretum in Wakefield ever. So Jim has created a first.
Boy, what are you running for lately?
I love the fact that he said we have a bit of an arboretum here. This is the only thing I would note, and I like everything that's done. The only thing I would note is I love the pavers to the rear. I would change the front walk as well.
Yeah.
To be pavers.
Okay, we can do that. I mean, that's concrete.
I think that
right
would
now.
tie everything in. That would make all entrances similar.
Right.
I just think it would be appropriate. And then that really changes the feel of this building from what it is to what it is going to be.
Right.
I think there's an argument that will improve the whole area in that corner.
Yep, I agree.
So that's, I'd like to, the other thing I wanted to go over was some architecture things that the board had talked about that Lee is here. So if I may.
Okay, everyone else set with landscaping? Sounds like it. Okay.
Okay. Hang on. Okay. So what we did is we did put together a kind of materials and selection booklet. This is actually you know, what Jim said, the evergreens along the building are a mess. He was right. This is kind of what they are now. They're just overgrown above the windows. And as we said when we were at the site, time has just passed them by. So it's time to clean them up. So Lee, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep. So do you want me, can you kind of go through this a little bit as I scroll through?
Certainly.
So you get the metal roof?
The metal roof, I think we're looking at that as an alternate. We have a GF slate line roof shingle, more traditional style asphalt as I guess the preferred selection of roofing material, and the metal roof would be a possible alternate to that. Both would be in the black nature.
If you're doing a metal roof, are you going to put snow guards on?
Yes, we would if we do on the main roof. The other roofs would be so small, they'd be just basically canopies over the roof sections, and, you know, just to add some architectural detailing.
Okay, Lee, go ahead. Accent trim, hardy board.
This side, we've got a hardy plank, which is a board and batten arrangement. We're looking at that as more as a focal element to the siding, contrasting with the horizontal siding that we've selected for the main part of the structure. The main part of the structure, which we'll see shortly, would be a clapboard design. So this would be at the entrance areas of the building, both at the street and along the side where the parking is. The black sashes, it's very typical of some of the modern construction that we've been seeing. We're looking at a double hung window with black sash and mutton bars, the grills and the windows. This is the hardy plank siding. This runs horizontally, and we're doing a 7-inch exposure. It has, in my opinion, a better aesthetic value than the 4 and 5-inch that typically is seen. So this would be something that we would do in a 7-inch, be horizontal clapboard. This is also an accent tile. We would have a combination with the board and batten, and this is a shingle style hardy material, and we'll balance these between the entrance of both locations. This is actually like a cultured veneer stone. This is a material that we've chosen. We do a small lower section of an apron wall at the entries of both. Is a lower basement level, subgrade level, and then at the entrance along the street, just to give it a partial stone texture, added texture. This is what we're proposing for a railing system with the black balusters, the vertical elements within the rail system. We would use this at the entries and also in that upper level above the rear section of the building, above unit 1 and 2, that's currently occupied by the daycare. This would be at the entries of the units for the wall sconces or wall lighting. This is just the overall.
What's the color on that hardy plank? Is that a gray or a white or?
Be white.
It's a white. Looks like gray on the computer.
Yeah, these aren't the
Yeah,
best.
it'd be white.
All right.
I think the rendering's more realistic.
Does it say white anywhere on these pictures? And so, again, just so you're saying white, we're getting white. Because
Yes.
it says black windows, black, shingles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can,
the intent-
we could modify that.
Okay.
I mean, so, okay.
Should probably modify the 7-foot hard plank to 7-inch while we're at it.
Was that, Greg?
It's on,
Oh, yeah.
it's on one of them.
Yeah, I see
I
it.
wasn't gonna say anything, but if we're modifying it.
No,
stuff,
thank
let's
you.
Look at that too.
That's a pretty big spread.
A hell of a big.
So we're just going to specify white just so it's clear. And 7 feet becomes 7 inches on that sheet. Okay, just taking notes myself. Thank you. Okay, any other questions, board members?
I have a quick question. We had talked a little bit last week or whatever, 3 weeks ago actually, about use of that back balcony. I don't know if we ever came to a actual conclusion we're not going to use it, or is that still open, or am I misunderstanding that there was never any?
If I could speak, my understanding is we would still rail it. However, we wouldn't occupy it. We'd just have the access door that's currently there now remain.
Okay.
So it'll be like just an emergency, it'll be a second means of egress, is that what you're?
It'd probably just be for service, service of the roof if there's any repair work that would be needed, that type of thing.
We would entertain a condition that, it would be used for that, but it wouldn't be used for furniture or congregation or,
I think if it's not going to be decked and it's just going to be like a rubber roofing, anybody that goes out there and starts walking on it or sitting on it's going to puncture it pretty quickly.
Yes, the intent was not to deck it, just to have the rubber roofing.
I think the question is, Lee, are you concerned that if there's a door there, that the rubber roof could be damaged if people walked out there?
Again, it's really just the access for maintenance only. It's not intended to be habitable.
I think we could condition that.
Brian, did we talk about snow removal at all?
No. Want me to go to landscape plan, Amy?
Yeah.
Amy, I think there's enough room on here to lose it all on site,
Okay.
even in a huge winter.
Okay.
Hold on. There it is.
And quite honestly, if they start
A lot of
losing
area back
space,
here.
and quite honestly, if they start losing spaces, whether this is rentals or condos,
Area here.
they're going to address it.
Okay.
But that whole area to the right at the back parking lot is available.
Okay.
And then you've got all the space in front of the 4 spaces in front. They've
Okay.
got a lot of room on this site.
Okay. And I assume town trash pickup.
That's going to be up to the DPW. They will not.
Isn't it
4
only?
units, they won't, right?
No, I thought it's over five or more.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I have to work that out with them. If not, then usually what these projects do, I have a few of them. They have a private company that comes with barrels and just picks it up on a trash day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was up to 5. The town did it.
Yeah, there's no correspondence. The correspondence from the DPW didn't specify either way, so probably good to confirm.
So then, Brian, so if it's a private company with barrels, where do all the barrels go?
We can do a mini dumpster too.
Well, then there should need to be a dumpster drop.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you're making this very nice, and then all of a sudden you get
Yeah,
how many trash cans or a dumpster or something?
concrete slab.
Lee, any thought on that? Is there a place inside to store some barrels or?
I'm just looking at the site plan. I would think back where the paving areas in the rear would be probably a good place to have some, either if we needed it fenced or an area for, I would think 4 large barrels would be sufficient.
They would, because that's what we each get 1 large barrel for our houses, and that works. So
We each get 2 large barrels.
I get 1.
Get the
trash and you don't recycle, Brian?
No, I do, but that,
Called out.
All right, so just a follow-up note, you got that, Brian?
I do.
Okay. Anything else, board members?
Yeah, back on the elevation, Brian, is there canopies above the upper windows that I'm seeing on the drawing? Was that talked about, or you have a?
They're basically, yeah, just the small shed roof over these areas.
Oh, it's not a material. It's an actual. It's not like a fabric. It's an actual.
Yeah, it
construction.
would be built out of wood and
Oh,
sheathing, and then the metal roofing.
Like a little eyebrow.
all right. Yeah, it looked like it was gonna maybe be a material, like fabric or something. So.
No, it would be metal roof.
All
right, Brian, we're seeing your email again. I don't know. You've
Really?
had the file. You've had the file open somewhere.
Oh, sorry.
No, I thought you were going back to the site
There
plan.
you go. I was trying to show you these eyebrows.
Oh, okay.
Oh. All right.
Okay. Anything else, board members? Okay. All right, at this time, we'll open it up to public testimony. If anyone has a comment or question, please raise your hand or come off mute. We'll recognize you at this time. Dave Farrick, you have your hand raised. Are you okay? Was that new?
I'm off mute. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. And thank you, members of the board. First of all, thank you again, Brian. I agree with you entirely with it was a great meeting. We got a lot accomplished in a very relatively short amount of time, really, in about a half an hour, especially with, talking about the town and sort of the water drainage issue. And I'll just touch on why I raised that as an issue as well before. But I also want to thank Jim as well for that plan. I think I agree where it's really gonna beautify the area, and I think it's wonderful. We're really happy with it. And also, Micah, again, thank you very much for being flexible with this and working with us even remotely. We do appreciate it. So with that, I just wanted to the only reason why I brought up the water mitigation issue coming in from the town was that, as I stated previously, and you can kind of see them on the renderings there, and Brian mentioned it as well, that the current tenants, when we do have a larger rainstorm or an event like that, put out sandbags to block the driveway, and it helps mitigate the water. So, I'm very, very positive that, and very confident that the town's going to take a look at this and help this. I do have a little bit of a concern of what might happen in the meantime, but we know that a plan is underway. For example, I know that I'm not going to be able to ask, new tenants to put out sandbags anytime we get a big rainstorm. It'd be lovely and it would help us all out. But in the meantime, that's understood. As long as the town's looking at it, we're not as concerned about that. So I don't know if there's any particular mitigation plans you wanted to look at. I know that's probably about a year where it's, you might be built versus when the town might get something in place. But again, this is probably out of scope for this meeting. So I would just want to raise it as sort of a thought. Probably that leads me to my next question as well. And I'm sure that this is covered somewhere. And again, it might be out of this, but is there a maintenance plan that goes hand in hand with this, coming from a single family dwelling where the current residents are seemingly primarily responsible for upkeep of lands as they do all the sort of the landscaping, all that stuff, versus shifting to a multifamily unit? I do have a question is that something that's covered as well? That's just part of the plan, and that's it. And I'll take my question after I'll take the answer after this. And the one last thing I did want to raise, just as a point, and I apologize, I did not notice this last week in the rendering, but I just happened to notice it before this meeting, looking at last week's notes, and I see it in the current rendering as well. We talked about the fencing on the back portion of the property. and how, we already sort of addressed that and what, that being taken down. My question now is about, actually on that screen, is the front side of the property. There seems to be a deck on that porch that doesn't exist now. I don't know if that's something in the same scope. And I'm just raising it more as a question as to if that falls underneath the same conditions that you're currently concerned about with the back deck and things like that. So again, those are my 3 questions. I really appreciate the time again, Brian, and you reaching out and working with everyone, and happy to work with everybody again moving forward. Thanks.
Dave, is this the porch you're talking about?
No, the front one there.
Oh, let me.
Yeah, it's on. I think it's on the title screen. You can see it on that.
Oh, okay, thank you. Hold on. Here. This one, Dave?
Yes, correct.
So you talking about this?
Correct.
Got it.
Currently, there isn't a deck or anything like that, so I just wanted to raise it as a question if it's something that should be a concern.
Lee, is that an addition?
Yes.
Okay. We'd like to add that as an amenity for this unit. That would be a desire to do that.
That's not.
To me,
not-
one of the, I'm
That's-
sorry.
Yeah, that's not caused any setback issues, has it, Brian?
Doesn't
Doesn't look like it.
No, well, let's look, Jim. Let me see what,
It would be all within the existing structure.
It's above the existing porch.
Well, yeah, but within the footprint of the existing structure, yes.
Right.
yeah, let me just, hold on. Let's just look at that. Just want to make sure we're not, let's see, 101.
Right. The rationale for not wanting the back one was increasing the volume. And this potentially does the same on the front to a much lesser degree, but.
Yeah, I want to let's just look at it
Okay.
if you don't mind. I'd like to.
It's like you're back 30 feet, so.
In addition to the volume too, it sightlines into Mr. Ferrick's, direct his backyard and his house and everything. Yeah, you have some windows, but if you're going to increase, more so on I think the back balcony, but you could see directly into his house from there. Not sure the front.
Just a point of correction. I'm actually not I don't abut on that side. I do know the gentleman who does abut on that side. He's elderly. He doesn't have access to a computer or anything like that. So he did as on the side did raise it as a bit of a concern. But
Hang on one sec. I'm trying to get a. Just bear with me. Just having a hard time. Just there is a porch there already. Hang on.
Is it on the plot plan you showed us earlier?
No.
The porch exists per the rendering. It just doesn't have the railings or the access to over the existing porch.
Yeah, it's a roofed, it exists as a roofed porch.
Yeah, that's right, Jim.
So it's not like just a porch without a roof, so it's not really any different.
Here we go.
Are you attempting to read something or share something?
No,
or-
I'm going to share something. I'm sorry
Okay.
about that, but I was finally able to get this done. Now I can share it. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm struggling with this one. I can't do it. I apologize. But I'm looking at it. It's got a front porch with a cover on it already.
Yeah, I'm looking at 4 columns, basically a roof.
Yeah.
a white railing and a porch area with a pair of steps coming down. And so it's really, other than changing some of the aesthetics, putting a railing on the top, and
There it is. There you go.
not really much different.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Let me get it from this angle, maybe. It'll help it. Yeah.
Too many brushes in the way.
There you go.
Almost all the houses on Cedar Street have a front porch with a roof, if you go down that street.
I'm gonna go downtown if I can.
No.
There you go.
All the way over to Prospect. It's very consistent.
Yeah. There they are, right there, right?
The question of the concern is turning that into a balcony, right? That's what's in question, right?
That was my understanding too, Dave. The porch is one thing, but turning it into going from a roof to a habitable balcony.
I mean, do any of the board members have concerns with it or okay with the desire to do that?
I mean, as long as it's a sturdy thing and it's, everything's fine, I'm fine with it.
There's no, well, in the plans, if I'm reading this right, the second floor, there's no doorway out there.
Oh, it's a bay window or something, yeah.
Right. So there's no occupancy up there.
No, I know. So does even adding a small habitable deck increase the volume and therefore?
As long as it's not accessible.
Well, Lee, what's the plan? What are these things on the building, Lee, that I'm pointing at?
Yeah, my thoughts on it would be to replace the bay with a glazing unit that would allow access out to there. My thoughts originally were the aesthetics of the front facade looked a little bare and sparse, and adding the railing to me added, a pleasing aesthetic to it, and also where it wasn't. I'm not looking at it as so much volume where it's not having a roof. It's not really a space. It's more of a square footage, and we're not increasing that based on the porch level. Is kind of the way I looked at it.
Well, your plans basically show just a bay window. They don't show any sliding doors or anything like that to get out there.
That's correct, but the intent would be, like the rendering shows, a double set of doors in there. We would prefer to do that.
Then that's got to be part of the filing here. And part of the conversation.
Micah, do you have an opinion on this?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm fine either way. I would prefer to have the option to have it added. I think aesthetically it looks a lot nicer. It'd be a nice amenity to that second floor. But if it's going to cause a problem, then we could take that out.
I guess I'm the one who brought it up, so I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I thought there might be some concern from the neighbor, so that's why I was raising it. But I guess personally, I don't necessarily have any problem with it.
There looks like in the background there are other houses that have second floor decks.
Many of them have been enclosed in.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I was just gonna say. Some of them have been filled in.
Yeah.
But most of them had it. I don't see where the problem would be. A small area for someone to go out and sit outside as an amenity for that unit.
This is what you have going down Cedar Street.
Yeah, and I also don't think that unit's going to be looking into somebody's backyard or bedroom or.
Not at all.
I think it's very different than the back unit.
This house, some of these houses have them.
All right, I just want to make sure the board's comfortable, and Brian, with your input, that making that space available does that constitute increasing the volume, which is not allowed per the conversion bylaw?
What, to open that up?
Yes.
Oh, I
So
don't think.
my consideration
changes
of
the
that,
volume.
Dave, if they were considering putting a patio out the back, the patio would certainly be allowed. You're not creating interior volume. You're not creating the roof to create this deck.
Yeah, I think that's the point, I think, is that if it had a roof on it and you enclosed it like some of the others up the street, and even if it was just screened in, but you had a roof on it, then it becomes a volume.
That was the way I interpreted it. It was only length and width. It wasn't height. So
What's the square footage of that unit?
I'm going to bring up
that's the second floor unit. So that's unit 4.
Right, so if you were adding the porch with that, that would increase footprint and volume. You're not doing that. I'm just reading the bylaw. I remember the last discussion and I thought it, in part, yes, the size of it overlooking the abutters, but I thought somebody had mentioned also too that making that habitable deck area space also could be construed as increasing volume of the living area, because even though it's outside and sitting on top of, existing structure. But maybe it's a minor point. I just want to make sure we're all comfortable with it, and let's not belabor it more than we have to. But was someone looking up dimensions? What was the question?
Square footage of that second floor unit.
Oh.
Do you have that, or do you want me to bring up the plan?
It's on the plan, it's just small.
It's 1904, 1904 feet.
That one unit?
Yeah, the second and third floor. It's the biggest unit.
That's right. That unit goes up to the third floor. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So board members in my hearing generally, we're okay with it. You're okay with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Then let's move on. So Ms. Burke did ask a couple other questions, O'Brien. So we kind of got distracted here. He asked about the maintenance, this conversion. How is general maintenance of the property? Now you have 4 individual tenants.
Yep. Yeah, so that would be a question to the board. If the board deemed this to require an operation and maintenance plan, then, I could put one together for it.
Is it going to be condos or rentals?
I don't think we're decided on that yet, right, Micah?
I haven't,
Yeah.
but I'm leaning towards rentals, which in that case I would take care of the property.
Right. I guess, Brian, there should be a small O&M.
Yeah.
So that if you really haven't decided, or if Micah down the road wants to convert it to condos, that there'd already be something in place as compared to, something as simple with, snow, landscape maintenance,
landscaping replacement. Yep.
Answer the trash question.
Trash, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And what was
There's now going to be a sprinkled building. Inspections, yearly inspections, who's doing it? They have to be done. All those things.
Yep.
That even though it's small, if it goes to 4 units and condos at some point, that needs to be in place anyway.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And then the comment was around was it the fence along the property line? Did I get that right, Mr. Ferrick? I'm trying to remember the other question.
No, I apologize. That was just a point of clarification regarding the street flooding issue and why I brought it up in that.
Okay.
And just if there wasn't, but if there's a maintenance plan in place, I believe that would help with that. And just, we do have concerns that, excuse me, between the time this construction is done or even starting and between the time that the flooding issue is taken care of on the street by the town, we're looking at maybe a number of years where, again, the current family puts sandbags out. I'm not looking for anyone to do that going forward. Just more, it's a point of concern that we'll have for a year or two until the city can find a way to mitigate that type of water and that runoff. That's all.
Did you show, okay, Brian, was it on the plan or did we discuss how we're handling water on the site? Just on the site, are they all getting?
No, actually, Bill, we showed Bill Renault what we were putting for pavement, and he said, because I pointed that out to him, and that was one of the original concerns that Dave had. Geez, you're adding pavement, and there's already a flooding issue here, and the town engineer walked the site and said, well, what you're putting here, there's no issue with water. If you want me to get a memo from the town engineer?
Yeah, I think it'd be good. As well, just what's running off the building. Again, you're redoing the outside, just putting in standard, gutters and drains and diverting the water appropriately on the site. So again, any runoff is just being handled aside from the driveway and the impervious services on the site.
I'll just reach out to the town engineer, Mr. Chair, and I'll copy you.
Okay.
And that way, and I'll reiterate what you're looking for, and if you need to add to that, then you can. Is that okay?
Yep. Okay. Engineer. Water. Okay. All right. Thank you. Was there anyone else that had a comment or question? Okay, hearing none, I will then read what the board has received a letter from an abutter. Sounds like they were not able to attend the hearing, but sent a letter. So I don't have an electronic version to share, so you can all read it. It's just a few paragraphs there. It is from, I believe, Jared Mullane at 259 Albion Street. Reside at 259 Albion Street, Wakefield. Received the abutter's notice. Scheduled for the 23rd. Unsure if I'm able to attend. So let me see. This was received the 21st. Was this not taken up at the last hearing? This letter?
No.
Oh, okay. It sounds like it was received before that, but maybe it just didn't get.
We didn't receive it by the hearing.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So the traffic on Albion and Cedar is getting worse, and will get worse with more developments. Routinely, traffic backs up on Albion past Cedar going towards North Ave from 3 to 6 p.m. and is going to continue to get worse with the continued developments on Foundry Street and on Albion Street across from the 7-Eleven. Traffic is equally bad in the morning on Albion Street going towards Stoneham, coupled with traffic on Cedar Street from parents dropping off their children at St. Joe's, St. Joseph School. The noise from construction is also going to cause disruption to the nearby neighbors. I would imagine this project will take anywhere from 7 to 13 months. The early morning noise, combined with many adults and students working and learning from home for the foreseeable future, will cause an unneeded disruption. With the increased development, particularly on the west side of town, we're putting strains on services, particularly our school system, that will not be offset by the additional tax revenue. The incremental increase in new growth tax revenue, plus what is received from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, will not prove to be beneficial. As a 20-year resident of Wakefield, homeowner, landlord, and municipal office official, he's the town auditor in Andover, I oppose this development. Signed, Jared Mullane. Okay. So, board members, for your consideration there. Seeing no other hands raised, I'll just go back once more through the screens. Not seeing or hearing anyone raise a hand. Okay, so we'll close it to public testimony for the evening. So what's next? We have some updates to plans, some questions to answer, an O&M. So it sounds like there's a few punch list items for next time. All right, is there any other aspect of the project that board members feel we need to cover, or Brian, from your perspective?
I mean, these all seem to be pretty minor in my opinion, Mr. Chairman. I certainly, for one, would be ready to move forward on the next meeting one way or the other. So I would ask Mr. McGrail to respectfully put together what he might be thinking about as far as conditions go create the O&M, and, you know, what we might need to do to vote on this for the next meeting.
Sound okay, Brian?
Fine. I have a list of items, you know, the deck access and O&M and maintenance. And so I have a list of conditions I've been accumulating.
Okay. And then it sounds like each plan, well, for my notes too, each plan will get updated, and hopefully final.
Correct.
Next time. And potentially be in a position to vote at that time on the special permit. So, all right.
Yes, sir.
With that, anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we continue this to the 28th.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, Chip, are you in favor of that?
I am, since I made the motion, I guess I'll be in favor.
Amy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike? Yes?
Mouthed yes. Yeah.
And
Yes.
and Amy, okay. And I also concur. So again, that's unanimous. Thank you, team, for tonight's information, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and our next and final continued hearing for the evening, case 21-19. David J. Ladner, trustee at 25 to 29 Tuttle Street, unit number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're back again. Brian McGrail representing Dave Ladner as trustee. Dave is right there. Hi, Dave. And Charlie is our sign person who was on the meeting. Can't see him, but he's here, and certainly he can comment. I think at the I want to refresh the board's memory. At the last meeting, the board designated Mr. McBain to work with us on signage. This is the property at 2529 Tuttle Street. Dave, it's condominiumized, and Dave owns one of those units. And you know, this is the mustard building that we talked about. And you know, kudos to Dave. He's a young man that purchased this unit, and you know, this building has kind of sat in deterioration for a number of years. It's quite a significant building, the old train station building that we all know. And since buying this unit, Dave has taken incredible initiative to gather the support of all of the other unit owners to invest a significant amount of money into restoring this building. If you go by, you'll see a ton of rotted wood on the building that's being replaced, windows fixed, and that mustard color is going to go away, and it's going to become a maroon building that's going to match the Brownson Insurance building in color and really tie it in very nice. At the top of the building is built in with brick is the Wakefield logo for the Wakefield station. That's going to be painted black on the maroon to like really highlight Wakefield at that station. And, you know, kudos to him, because now, you know, this building we've all kind of, you know, gotten used to. You know, I always say that, you know, maybe I have some flaws around the house, like maybe a hole in the wall or stuff that, and you just kind of get used to it. And you just walk by it, and then all of a sudden you look at it one day and go, my God, look at that. And I think kind of this building has been that way. You know, we as a community have just kind of got used to that yellow mustard, and, you know, that's the way it is. But maybe people that come from Wakefield go, wow, look at that color, look at that building, beautiful building, but just not being kept up in a horrible color. Well, Dave has taken that initiative to make things happen there, and he's investing a lot of money. He's the owner and principal of Remax Harmony, which is a successful brokerage firm. And as Dave told you, his desire is to become a lifelong businessman in Wakefield in that location. So he's vested, he bought the unit, spent a significant amount of money, and is spending money in leading the charge to fix the building up. Now, his goal is to come up with signage for this property. You know, one sign that would be on Tuttle Street, and then another sign that will be on North Avenue, going across the railroad tracks. It's very important for him to have as much visibility as possible, and Dave will tell you about that and why. Since the last meeting, as I mentioned, Jim McBain, as he always does, has invested an incredible amount of time on this, and we thank him. Multiple Zoom meetings with us, site visits, trial signs. I mean, you know, it's just the way Jim does things. And Dave is a new business person in town, is very appreciative of that. He mentioned that to me today. He said, boy, the time that this gentleman has spent with me, I really appreciate it. And not only that, as usual, Jim has given great feedback because Jim came up with the idea that we didn't even think about, that there would be this building would be appropriate for a bracket sign, which you'll see. And Dave said, and our sign guy, Charlie, said, what a great idea. And so we're very thankful to him. So I'm going to kind of bring up, if I can, where we are. And there's one issue that we're dealing with that, we really the only thing that we're dealing with Jim that we need to talk to the board about. Dave has a desire in his position is a need to be able to have an internally lit sign that would face North Avenue, and he'd like to address the board about that. And Jim has explained that that's not something the board really advocates or desires. But we would like to present Dave's position on that and his thoughts. And I'm sure you're going to hear from Jim, as we would welcome, because Jim will talk about the not only that, but he will talk about the bracket sign, which was Jim's idea. So I guess to start the conversation off, I'm going to bring this up. Hang on 1 second. Having a hard time opening it. Hang on. Here we go. So this is a wonderful yellow color building. And one of the things that we talked about was making the colors work with what the color of the building is going to be. I think the way this usually starts is, in deference to him, I'd like to, let Jim kind of go, if you would, Jim, just because, this bracket sign is your idea, and then you have some thoughts on the building. And then when Jim is done, I think Dave would like to address the board, because I think we kind of know what Jim's feeling is going to be on what we're proposing with the internally lit sign on the North Ave side. So, out of respect for Jim in all of the time that he spent on this, I think it's probably appropriate for him to start and for me to get out of the way. So,
Jim, do you want to do that, or do you want the applicant to?
Whatever you want, Jim, but I want to defer to you out of courtesy.
No, this is you guys' presentation. I can comment afterwards.
Okay.
I think he ought to give his time. I mean, he knows my opinion. I've given him what I think the board's opinion is, but but at the same time, it's his business, his desire. As I told him, he tried to convince me multiple times, and I said, you got to convince the board. Don't sit here and convince me. I've already told you what my opinion is. So it's strictly up to Dave to, put on his soft shoes and tell everybody what he thinks.
Okay, so with that said, let's talk about what we agree on, and I think where we're good. So this is the front entrance of the building. This is the Tuttle Street side sign, and what we're really just proposing here is a basic belt sign that will go on. And then, Jim had this great idea that he said, well, the problem with this sign is, there's not a lot of activity on Tuttle Street. What you really want to do is, if people are looking for you and they're at the light on Albion Street where the railroad tracks are waiting to go across towards Dunkin' Donuts, you want them to be able to look down and see that you're there. And Jim came up with this idea of a bracket sign to go on the building. And Dave loved it, right, Dave? I mean, Dave thought it was a great idea, and so did Charlie. So we worked together to have a design. And then, in typical Jim's fashion, we're trying to figure out the size. And the way we handled that on the bracket sign was that Charlie made some models of different sizes, and everybody went to the site with a step ladder and put them up, and walked down, towards the intersection, so we could see, or they could see how they would.
Brian, they
Yeah.
only had one sign, which is a 30-inch. I personally opinion is that it could be bigger.
Yeah.
They're aware of that, basically. When you stand back at Albion Street and look down there, it's hard to see. Now, it was a miserable day that day, for sure. And the location for it, I think that we decided would be on the corner as opposed to over the doorway. The other thing I should mention here, while people are looking at the picture, is that paint color is going over all the brickwork. It's not just going to be yellow and red or brown.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
So
Yeah, the whole building is going to be maroon.
see, it's in its holistic manner. Basically, it's that color is the whole building. No more yellow coming to this building, as I understand, is what Dave's doing, basically.
Correct. Okay,
so Brian, pause just for a second. We don't have this. What we got from you was what's shown on the right-hand side with a bracket kind of shown in between the two pictures there. It was hard to tell where that actually was going to be.
Yeah.
So the stuff on the left, we don't have. We have 3 possible versions.
Yeah, because after I sent this is when they did this and determined exactly, where it was going to be, Dave. So,
okay, so we'll need a copy of this, but can you just zoom in again? I know you zoomed in, but then came back out.
Okay.
Where are we talking about this bracket?
Okay, Jim, you want to explain where the bracket will be?
It's on the Tuttle, the lower right. No, go ahead. Pull back out again. All right.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
The street, Tuttle Street, the right side.
This side.
You zoom in on that.
Okay.
No, left, right. I mean, right. Move right.
That way?
Brian, you want to go on that doesn't show the corner. You want to go on the left side. If you back out of if you back out.
Okay.
Just above the Remax sign sample, basically. Go up.
Oh, okay.
Zoom in on that one.
On this one, Jim?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's the best I can do. It's not a good quality photo. That's the biggest I can get it and the best I can do.
Yeah, and that's because the photographs were taken closer to Albion Street. So the intent would be to stick it right on that corner, basically, so it'd be as close to Albion Street as possible.
I see.
It would be mounted at the same height as the wall sign, so the two of them would blend together as far as elevation. Now, I should mention here that the request here before us is really about what happens on the track side. But the reality is we have to figure out all the sign sizes based on the frontage on the street. And until we get a site plan basically with the frontage, I can't calculate what the quantity of signs are, nor whether in fact this applicant basically has to ask for some additional variances in relationship to total signage on the building.
Okay, so just on the bracket, is that being shown as coming out 45 degrees on the corner of the building, or is it coming out onto Tuttle, or is it coming out towards Albion?
Straight out towards Tuttle.
Straight out towards Tuttle.
It's modeled on the Tuttle site, close to the corner.
Okay.
You can see it in the next photograph over, which is front view.
Right here? Yep.
You can just see it in there if you zoom in a bit.
Is it right here, Jim?
Yep.
Right here.
Jim, this might be a little bit off the rails.
Yep.
But would you also see, if the barber shop were to ever do anything, a bracketed sign for them as well?
Well, I think the barber shop is a whole nother thing, and I'll just quickly go through it. They never pulled a permit on either side.
Okay, mine was just, would you see a bracket sign?
And the building's going to be totally painted, so that sign's going to disappear. So I quite frankly could see a bracket sign on that one too.
Okay, that was my question.
As I said to Dave at the time, I says, you know, bracket sign's a great idea to get exposure on a street where you're not getting exposure. But at the same time, basically, it's aesthetically appropriate for this age building.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
Right.
the belt sign, can you, all right, now back to the belt sign, which isn't part of what you requested, but again, is part of updating the sign package for the building. When you say a belt sign, is it literally white with the red and blue on top and it's not lit? It's just a white sign band?
Yes, on the front of the building, it's just a white sign with raised letters with the Remax in red and the Harmony in blue with the balloon to the left of it.
Okay.
Very simple, basic sign, and it's going to look clean. It's going to look classy. The raised letters really pop. Charlie is on a, you can't see him, but he is listening on his computer, and I have him on speakerphone, my signing vendor. I've seen his work on other local real estate companies, and that's how I found him, because his work caught my eye in the local area. But yeah, so it'd be raised off the sign. The reason why I'm not asking for anything more than that, it's going to be a nice, classy, clean look on the front. I'm not concerned about more exposure on the front, because there is none. I mean, I'm facing an empty parking lot in a church, so it will look nice, it will look professional. And by the way, we're going to do the maroon for the paint, just so people can try to visualize the colors. It's going to be maroon on the main body, gray trim around the windows, and then black. On the front side, there's the 1889, the year that the building was built. Those letters we're going to do in black to let that pop. And then on the back side, facing North Ave, there's the town name, Wakefield. We're going to do that in black to let that pop. But we're basically mimicking the attorney in the assurance office next door, so that it will be, which instead of having this ugly mustard yellow building that's just an eyesore, we want it to be a nice professional strip for the whole street and for the whole community, to kind of bring this building back to life and have it look professional and complement the street. So it'll kind of look like a strip of businesses, if you will, going from the CPA to the insurance company next door. And then there's that dividing parking lot. And then there's our building, and it's going to look 10 times better than it does now. So these colors with the white background and then the raised letters in red and blue, it's going to pop off of the maroon or burgundy background. It's going to look really nice.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood. Does anyone else have any questions with those two signs before we get to the track side? Okay, so David, you still have the floor.
Okay, thank you. First, I just want to piggyback off of Brian and Jim. I want to thank you for your time and your ideas. You did put in a lot of time, and you were definitely really helpful. So I really do appreciate it. This is a really important matter to me. Just to give you a little bit of background, I came in the business 7.5 years ago. I'm 37 years old. I just purchased a 5-year Remax franchise, and I purchased this building before I purchased the franchise. I put a lot of thought. I've been planning this for years. I've lost sleep over this call right here. And please don't misunderstand my passion for anything other than what it is. No reflection of any aggravation towards the board or anything like that. This is really important to me. Because to get to where I'm sitting right now to speak with you, I've been watching the commercial listings going back about 2 years ago, and I chose Wakefield. It's a community that I'm really, really excited to be a part of. All the years of hard work and the reputation that I've built, I chose Wakefield for a reason. I feel like it's a great community. I feel like there's great business owners right beside me with these new shops that have recently turned over on Tuttle Street. And I live right next door in Reading, so it's a 10-minute commute for me door to door. But anyway, I chose that my strategy was I didn't want to rent. I wanted to purchase an office space. And before I negotiated the deal to purchase this office condo, I made sure with Remax that I could open up a franchise here based on my sales production and et cetera. So they said, yep, if you know, we like this, because it was a Remax office, or a different broker owner, a different entity, but this office was a Remax office for the last 15 years. But you can see what they let the building go to. They were kind of the, you know, the go-to people, just like I am. So I just closed on this building in the end of January, and I inherited a mess on the exterior. I mean, wood rot all over the place, ugly mustard yellow. I mean, when I tell people the address, that people that know the building, they kind of have like, you know, it's like, oh geez, you know, it looks so shabby right now. But I got a team here right now. I've already invested thousands of dollars out of my pocket, and so has the other co-owners in this building. And I had to get to know them and build trust with them. So it's been a lot of work to you know, get to this point where we're actually having improvements done on the building as we speak right now. A lot of time and effort went into that. As soon as we're done replacing all the wood rot with fresh wood trim, we're gonna have the building painted. It's gonna look so much better. So anyway, what I'm getting to is I wanted to purchase the office instead of renting. So I'm heavily invested in this location. And part of the reason why I purchased the location was because of the visibility facing North Ave. That was the reason that I purchased this location. And that, you know, I'm looking for some help from the board, because the challenge that I have in the real estate industry, and why my situation might be a little bit different compared to some of these other people that you know, I know you guys hear this type of stuff a lot, but the history of the real estate industry going back 10, 20, 30 years, a lot of people used to just, in town, used to just walk to the local realtor's office down the street and say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about selling my house next year. You want to come by and take a look at it? And you start building a relationship and you cultivate a lead that way. But the challenge and the issue that I'm facing within the real estate industry the last, you know, 10 years, 15 years, people are either going online, or it's a personal referral. And it's becoming less and less and less often that a local resident just walks into their local realtor's office because they're, number one, they're aware that they're there, and number two, their reputation. So I need help having that extra exposure on the back. Now, the other challenge that I have on the, not only is the front, there's really no visibility anyway, because I'm facing an empty parking lot in the church, it's also very close to the street. So by the bylaw says I can put up a light up sign on the front, but there's no visibility. And it's, if you look at the picture there, it's so close to the street, I don't really need it anyway. On the back side, it's very far away from North Ave. It's on the other side of the tracks. And that's where all the traffic is. That's where all the action is. That's where all the visibility is. That is the reason I bought this unit, and why I've spent so much time getting to know the other HOA owners and coordinating to clean up the building, which is going to be a big win for this whole strip, never mind my business, is because of that visibility. So I'm asking the board for help so that I can maximize my exposure, so that I can try to generate some more business by brand awareness, by people driving by, noticing we're here. And then that's going to complement my activities, being involved in the community. And as I take great care of people, and then they say, oh yeah, you know, word of mouth and referrals and things like that. But having that extra or maximizing that exposure, I need that so that I can stay relevant over time. Because the way that the real estate industry is working right now, there's not going to be enough incentive for real estate offices to stay open and pay the overhead and pay, you know, all the costs associated with it if we never get any return from on it. So those are some of my thoughts.
Okay, so while you're thinking, I'll ask a question. And you feel that the best way to do that is with a backlit sign as opposed to another type of sign, maybe similar to what's on the front with gooseneck lighting, for example? And so
Correct.
how does an internally lit sign help your business more than something that the board would, or I personally would probably prefer, that is lit in another way, much like the ones in your neighbors down that have sort of, I think there's overhead lighting, right? And they have awnings or whatever. But anyway, it's a different kind of building, but help us understand why this nature of sign helps your business in the ways you're describing more than, say, some other type of lighting.
That's a great question, David. Thank you. So, you know, when you're comparing to in some of the other businesses on this strip, so if you look at Carol's Cafe, which is a great new business, Kim's awesome. If you look at Remedy Exchange, you know, I'm in there a couple times a week. You know, we're all supporting each other as new local business owners. You know, they're food businesses, or yeah, there's the Maya, and there's a salon. Those types of businesses, they naturally have a lot more foot traffic. And so because of the, you know, people walking in a place like Carol's or Remedy Exchange, there's, you know, anywhere could be hundreds on a busy Saturday morning, or at least dozens of customers are walking into that business every day because of the nature of the business. The reason why mine is different and why I need the board's help is because the nature of my business, I might have no customers walk in to my business on a day. It's the volume that's different. I might have one or two people come in, but the more exposure that I have on the back where all the traffic is and all the cars are going by and there's all the visibility back there, if the brand awareness is there and my sign is a little bit more visible and a little bit more memorable. I was saying this the other day, I closed my eyes and I looked out the window. The only businesses I could name back here, and I'm pointing out because this is right out looking at North Ave, right here where I'm sitting, through that window is North Ave. I can't name any of the businesses that don't have light up signs, but I can name every single one that has a light up sign. Dunkin' Donuts, North Ave, Catch the Funk Dance Studio where my son goes, the Savings Bank, all the ones that are lit up, I know they're there. The other ones, there's a kitchen place across the street, I can't tell you the name. There's a smoke shop, I can't tell you the name. So for those reasons, I'm asking the board for help so that I can maximize my exposure to help me increase brand awareness. I'm also getting a lot of pressure from RE/MAX as well because of the location, to help maximize the exposure so that people know. You know, I invested in a 5-year franchise agreement. I'm not going to be out of here next year or the year after. And based on my track record, I'm very loyal and I'm 100% commit to when I set my mind to something. I want to be here for decades. That's my plan. I don't want to go nowhere. So if I can get a little bit of help here and get a little bit more exposure over time, if that helps me convert one extra lead per year, that's a big deal for me. If it helps one extra person walk in and buy breakfast every day, that's not going to make much of a difference. But that could be the difference between keeping me in business here in you know, for there to be a little bit more incentive to keep, because it's not cheap to operate this office. And part of the challenge, again, furthermore, with the real estate industry, a lot of brokers are just saying, you know what, we don't need the brick and mortar. We'll just work from home. But over time, if you don't have that sense of community and you know, where people can walk in and ask you questions right down the street and have that sense of trust as far as being committed to the community and putting my name on stuff when we do things, I think that would be not in the community's best interest to have somebody that really cares that much, that's invested in the community and that wants to be here for the long run. Again, I don't know what else more I can do as far as demonstrating my commitment to improving upon what I've inherited. Because what I inherited was you know, not something that I think anyone on the board would be proud of. And when you see what this building is going to look like by the early spring, I think you'll be, you know, wow, like he did what he said he was going to do, and he did it in record time. As far as closing in January, and then, I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, I would have already had all this done. That's another story. So really, if it was normal times, the building, you'd already see it. The photos would show it. Again, I've been planning this for years, so I'm asking for help to please make an exception because of these reasons that are unique to the real estate industry, and because of how much I've shown, how much I'm looking to improve upon the appearance of the building for the whole street, for an exception here.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure, Chip.
First of all, I appreciate everything you've done, and I at your age and desire, when you ask for the board's help, I think we're all prepared to help you. And in my opinion, letting you have a sign on the North Ave sign is helping, because that's what you're here asking for, which to start with, just having the sign is help, and having any sign is a big help. But we as a board, and particularly Mr. McBain, with his knowledge and everything else, have done everything in our power to eliminate backlit signs from the town. Everything. It would be going so far against everything we have worked for to allow you to have a backlit sign that I personally can't do it. I can let you have a sign. We can talk about maybe echo backlit lighting to be creative. I also just don't think it's appropriate for this style building to have a backlit sign. And yes, you could have one on the front by right. As far as I'm concerned, having one on the back, which is an ask, which I think we're all probably prepared to give you, but yet then to give you a sign that we don't allow pretty much anywhere else in town, to me is too great an ask. I think there's other ways to satisfy your exposure issues without having it be a backlit sign. That's my humble opinion. But I don't want to take away everything that you've done, and your ask was certainly passionate, but I'm not convinced there aren't other ways to do it that might be more tasteful, in my opinion.
Any other board members?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to, that was quite a presentation, and your passion is compelling. I'm not sure, I agree with Chip, and I haven't been on the board long enough to know the history of the backlit sign. I know this building is on the National Register of Historic Places. If you were going to make the exception, it's not going to be here for me. And I just wanted to make that clear. Just the historical nature of the building. I agree that it has a great location in town. I think there's signage that can be very helpful to you, but it doesn't have to be backlit. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with them too. I think, like you mentioned in your presentation, that the foot traffic to just go to your local realtor is not like it used to be. So your sign is just kind of more of a wayfinder as opposed to an advertisement, if that makes sense. I think that you're going to get most of your business through either social media, word of mouth, that type of thing. And the sign is just going to be there to just say, oh, that's where we're going, not as a way to, flashing lights and here we are. I agree with Chip on the backlit signs. I'm not for them as well. I think there's other alternatives that we could do to make it look nice and fit in with the building and still stay up to date and still stay branded with the look you're going for.
And as Jim said, Jim, you're listening to all our input. You've obviously been part of this already. You said you want to see sort of the full dimensions and site. So, can we work with them on the size of the bracket, on the size of both signs, so that, again, we can help them in other ways and potentially, grant the variance for this other sign, but maybe work with them on the sign. Right now it says 30 by 120. You know, could the size be different in addition to with an alternate kind of lighting scheme to accomplish what he, you know, he's going for, but maybe we just need to see those other dimensions and see what the true ask is for all of the sign package
Well,
before we render any decision, right?
yeah. Anybody else got anything to say before I?
If I can say one thing,
Sure.
I wish I had a better photo next time. I'll have a better photo of the back of the building, because the feel on the back, you know, of the building is much, even though it's cosmetically or the obviously the brick and the architecture of it is the same. The feel of the building on the front is much different than the feel on the back, because on the back you're literally right at the commuter rail stop. So looking at the point about the, you know, the sign not necessarily fitting the look of the building, it's really like the tale of two sides of the building as far as the feel. I'll come better prepared next time with some additional photos so that we can just try to show the difference as far as, you know, what is on both sides of the building. I don't think what I have here on the screen is sufficient.
Okay.
I haven't addressed the actual sizes of the signs really, because it's really still about the design of the sign and its placement on the building. So, you know, what restrictions are not within the code that they might have to ask for in this. So I'm sort of staying with just the design of the sign. Now, for those of us who haven't been on the board as long, we've spent a few years basically cleaning up the building next door and getting all the backlit signs that were illegally placed on the North Avenue side, but at the same time recognizing that there is a need for a sign on that side. Now, what we're facing is that they can only have signs on other sides of the buildings if they're facing another street or they're facing a parking lot. So what we've been allowing, recognizing that, okay, they're facing a track, but there's a street beyond it, and this is the best exposure for all those businesses along there. So as they've come along, we've eliminated with them basically the box signs, backlit box signs, and put sign on the building themselves that project the image of their business onto North Avenue, so they get more attention than being on Tuttle Street, which is like an alley basically as far as activity. So, you know, I've never wanted to see block signs on these buildings on this whole block. In fact, with a future issue of this bylaw, this block will become under the bylaw and all the controls will be there to begin with, and even allow signs on the track side for some of these buildings in the future. Now, eventually the North Avenue signs mentioned here that are box signs will eventually basically be changed out like a lot of other signs over the years in town. So I've told Dave that, you know, this is not something I support. I could see supporting something that was like halo lighting, freestanding letters or something like that, that might be on a mounting board or directly on the building. I've even shown him images where in fact the balloon basically is larger than normal for the lettering on that side, because if you think about it, that's the most recognizable symbol, and you don't have to read it. All you got to do is see the symbol, and immediately you know what it is, basically.
As far as that goes, I'm working with restrictions from RE/MAX.
I understand, but they're, you know, we may generate restrictions for them to react to too. But anyway, it's one of those things where we've been trying to clean up that block, and if we let now someone else do a backlit sign, then what have we accomplished over the last few years, quite frankly?
Well, and what kind of message does it send to everyone else who know that we worked with them to do other things? Yeah. So that's the challenge. Okay, so how do we move this forward? I mean, I think you're getting the message, David and Brian. I think, and Charlie, I guess he's on the phone and listening as the sign contractor here. Maybe take this back and discuss and maybe come up with something else. It doesn't sound to me, I think you're getting the message. It's going to be tough to convince the board we're going to want a backlit sign. I think there's general feeling that, you know, the variance is reasonable, but not this style. So it sounds like we got to get a little more detail on the overall sign package as it relates to the relief that would be needed in total, and maybe come back with a different sign proposal for that side. Anything else?
Charlie wants to say something.
Okay.
This is my sign vendor.
Okay.
Charlie, everybody. What would be allowed, or the board would allow, so we can get some type of idea or a rendering of what is accepted for that? Because we can keep on going back and forth with the external, internal, and I know that's not allowed now. But what type of sign would be allowed? The same as the front with gooseneck lights? Something like that?
I think you're working, this is Chip Tarbell talking, Charlie. I think you're working with the best person on our board, being Jim McBain, that understands what we're looking for as a board. And if you come up with something that he's acceptable with, then my bet would be that the board will be acceptable with it.
Okay.
So rather than design it here tonight, we've granted you probably the best person in town to work with you one-on-one to come up with a solution that will get approved. Probably.
And it sounds like you've done that with the other signs already. It's just go back and continue to work with Jim on this third component. And the gooseneck is one option. There probably are others, as Jim mentioned, but just work with them on it. And if you want to come back with a couple options, that would be okay too. And then we can discuss with the larger board in the public hearing and make a decision one way or another. If you guys have a couple of options, that would be fine. So anyone else? I don't see any other members of the public with us this evening. It seems like everyone is part of this application, so no need for public testimony tonight. Anything else, board members? Do you want to set the date for 2 weeks? Is that enough time? Or you want to?
Dave, what do you think on timing?
I think 2 weeks would be enough.
Okay.
Is that enough on your, Brian, does that give, from your opinion, does that give us enough time or?
Yeah, I think it does. I do. Jimmy, you gonna be around? Are you planning on going away at all or anything, or?
Latter part of next week for 2 days.
Okay, so yeah, that gives we want to try to get something done, Dave, because then the board's not going to meet until November 18th. There's going to be a little bit of hiatus. They only meet once in November, so it'll be good to try to move rather quickly to get back in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
I move that we continue this to October 28th.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Chip,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I say yes. Okay. Thanks for your time, gentlemen. Appreciate your presentation tonight.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. And Brian, you can stop sharing.
Oh.
There's nothing
I've
left
read
for us
all
to
his
share.
emails. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, we're reading all your emails.
I gotta be careful
Yeah,
with that.
you just lost privilege, Brian.
Oh, I forgot about that, Greg. Yeah.
I also have a problem, Brian, that all my emails are in your clutter file.
They're deleted.
Bam. Yeah. Okay, so that was the last of our hearings this evening, board members. The next agenda topic, clerk and board comments. It says discuss December hearing date. So Gail, tell us about that.
Well, we usually make it tentative, so it's now December 9th. I just want to make sure because of the deadlines that you guys still want it to be December 9th.
All right, so we have
Well,
one.
we only have
meeting
one in
once or
November
twice
too,
in
right?
November.
I know, but we missed, that deadline is going to be October 20th, so that was too close to bring up tonight. We couldn't change that.
So it's
So
November
November we have
18th.
two?
So it's definitely November 18th, but then the December,
Oh,
need to just, because we always make that tentative. And,
okay.
yeah,
And then we wouldn't meet
And then
again
when
until
would our January meeting be?
I know, I didn't do the schedule.
13th. No, 13th would be the second Wednesday. So if we do the 9th, it's
Almost be a month apart. Should we go to the 16th of November?
that's what I'm thinking. It's then, well, it's 1, 2, 3.
3, 3, 3, kind of.
It
Go for
would
the
be,
9th. Don't you like that Christmas hiatus?
no, it would be 4 weeks from the November one. Because after October 28, it's 3, then it will be 4, and then 4. If we moved it to the 16th.
You're staying December?
Yeah, December 16th.
Okay.
No one's going anywhere this year. It's not like we have anything to work on.
There's certainly no Christmas parties.
It would,
point,
it
Greg.
would more evenly space in between the November and the January meetings. It's just a little closer to the holiday, so I mean, we just need to be assured. we
Is
have
there a
quorum.
holiday this year?
No.
You didn't
Cancel
get,
it.
you didn't get
Santa's
the
gonna
memo?
bring COVID to everybody.
Right. But we just want to make sure we have a quorum. So are folks going to be around? They're not, as long as we can get a quorum, I would say we go.
I'll be drinking eggnog, but I'll be here.
Yeah.
He won't be skiing this year.
Okay, so 12, 16,
Okay.
Sure.
right? Any other clerk and board comments? for the evening?
I'm right here. Come here.
Amy's gone.
Oh, no, I'm back. I got a crying kid.
Okay,
Thanks, babe. Greg, your baby's about to wake up too.
Well, yeah. Well, no, that's usually from about midnight to 3 a.m.
okay.
Oh,
Any other clerk or board comments?
Other matters, basically, we still are unresolved or haven't given basically direction to 69 Foundry in relationship to the units on the roof. And I, quite frankly, don't see any issue with those in the views that I've walked around this with the cornice and everything up down there. And I don't see why we can't just basically say this is a non-issue. Now, if somebody else has something they want to say, then fine, but I think we need to close it tonight, period. It's been floating on this agenda or at least as an open issue for at least a few months.
And to refresh our memory, what is it we
This is
either need
whether
to,
or not there we hide it behind a fence or color it or paint it or do something.
the roof mechanical?
So in Jim's opinion, he's wandered around on the street, loneless and homeless, and can't see anything, but he's also old. The next
Well, wait a minute,
people-
wait a minute. We got a mechanical unit sitting in Greenwood that's bigger than a tank sitting on a roof. And
that if you want to bring that up, they still haven't satisfied their permit. So
nobody seems to be of any big
I
issue.
hate it every time I drive by. And if I really want to be a buster, I would call the attorney that processed that and have him meet the actual permit.
Let me unmute that
Hasn't
attorney.
been done, but
Yeah.
we won't do that.
No.
So
not tonight.
I'm okay with deferring to Mr. McBain because he often has better ideas than I. But I'm not sure I want to close it forever. I think I want to still hold the right that if, you know, down the road, or I just have problems that people are, there's gonna to be other buildings around that aren't street level in the future. And I get the argument that putting a fence or doing something in front of it draws more attention to it, but I'm not convinced that painting it or blending it in somehow with something might not be better. We don't even know what color it's going to be. So,
Standard mechanical color at this point. And you know as well as I do, structurally, if you put something up that's like a sail, you got to put something below the roof to attach it to. So doing it later is ridiculous. And we decided this sometime back before other projects were going up down there. And, there's only one that's basically going to look down on this. And that was never part of the decision process because it didn't exist at the time we talked about it. So I don't see how we can hoist any problems onto this project after the fact, period.
not after the fact. We contemplated having this forever. It was in the original design. You just want to take it off. It was always in the original design. It's not contemplated now because of the project next to it. It was contemplated because of the projects that are happening on that street.
No, I don't.
But I've already said I'm going to defer to you, so I'm done. I'm ready to go to bed.
Well, you already did that. Your eyes glowed in the last job. You practically fell off your chair.
All right, on the rails. So,
Anybody else? Amy, you're my partner on this one.
I've got nothing.
Let's close it then.
So when we say close it, I'm trying to remember the procedure. Were they trying to come back for minor modification? We're just saying we didn't need it. I don't even remember.
No.
I remember the issue, but not how it arose.
No, we said basically that they were supposed to
Put the box up there.
put plywood boxes up there
Yeah.
so we could look at it. All right. They never did that. All right. But now everything's up there. And these are not huge units like down in Greenwood. These are small individual units for each unit, for each apartment on this place. So there's a forest of them, but they're not very high. They're not very big, basically. And as Chip has already alluded to, sometimes we look at these and when you start to put a big fence around them, then all of a sudden it does become a big character. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't in some cases. And in my opinion, the only place I can barely see this is from the other side of the junior high school on Main Street. And that's way too far to consider it a problem.
so what's in the plan? Are you saying that the conditions or the plan showed some sort of screening?
As far as I remember, no.
No, what the plans called for were that it was a condition that said you could require it once it got to that, once it got up and you knew what it was going to look like. So it's within your authority to require it now. You wanted to see what it looked like either with demo models up there that weren't done or when it was actually built. But now it's at the point, as Jim said, that they really need to know because they're at the point of if they're going to put them up, they got to go up now or they're going to be left behind. Right, Jim?
Yep.
I'm in agreement with Jim.
So is Chip.
Anyone else?
Substantially in agreement.
You're not supposed to talk. Quiet.
The chair doesn't have to recognize him anymore. Anyone else want to weigh in? Otherwise, it sounds like they're going to proceed. We're going to
Where's
instruct
Tom?
them.
Tom's the only one that normally
Quiet.
has a fight
Quiet.
in him.
I'm indifferent.
Well, I have to put up with rooftop mechanical issues in Cambridge all the time, so I'm going to agree with Jim here.
Oh, killing me. Oh, I know where my alliances are now.
All right. Brian, you got your answer? Do we need to put something on paper or just you'll take it back to your client and say,
No, we're all set.
It's all set with that condition. We're good.
We're all set because Jim and I are working on, finalizing a booklet for this project with the modifications, and we'll just include that. But the client will know now that they don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Other matters, board members?
Let me just make sure I didn't skip what the meetings were. So it's November 18th, December 16th,
Mm-hmm.
and did we do January?
Well, it's always the second and fourth.
Oh, we're back to normal.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. That's why I didn't know if I missed something. Okay.
And Gail just needs to know again, because people come in for applications, what are the deadlines? to file?
Yeah.
I hopefully will be skiing the second Wednesday of January.
You won't.
I hopefully will be.
Okay.
We'll find
Yeah,
out.
he'll golf.
If no other matters, if there are no other matters, we'll move on to agenda topic number 4, which is approval of minutes of September 23rd.
I move that we approve the minutes of September 23rd.
Second.
Any discussion? I have one comment. It's just a minor clarification. I actually brought it to Gail's attention already on the, I'm just bringing them up on the 27 West Water Street application. It lists 3 cases. It says 21, 17, 18, and 19. It actually is only 17 and 18, and case 19 is the following hearing at this Tuttle Street address. So just, it's listed in
I
both, but
fixed it.
yeah, so with that modification, I would say I'm okay to approve. It just cleans up, and she's already done it, and that'll go in the file. Any other comments?
No.
All right. Chip?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Joe?
Yep.
Greg?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, thank you. Anything else, board members?
Move
The
that we
motion to adjourn is always in order.
Second.
Thank you for a wonderful job once again, Dave.
Oh, thank you.
Just like to know why.
Keeping Jim in control.
I wonder, I really want to know what Chip's running for, because he's basically given out badges to several designers tonight.
He did. He gave out a lot of accolades tonight.
Yeah. He must have had a
All right.
drink.
Good thing it's recorded.
Yep. All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you again for all your time tonight. Board members, have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye, London.
Bye.
Bye, London.